In the history of all bad ideas ever thought of, Trump turning himself in to authorities in New York and trusting them to keep their word might be the single worst one. Now, if this isn't evidence that the vast majority, and I do mean 99.9% of the American population, especially on the right, if this isn't evidence that you are only operating emotionally and you're not thinking, I don't know what is. Let me ask you just the most simple question in the world. Do you trust these two guys? Would you trust them as far as you could throw them? Especially the guy on the right. Do you trust the government? Do you trust the judges in New York to do what they say they're going to do? If you don't, then why in the world would you willingly go there and believe what they said, trusting they would do it? What's your recourse if they change their mind and they decide, maybe we do want to handcuff and jail and detain the former president for the photo ops? I'm sure they've reassured him that's not going to be the case. But what if they change their minds? What is his recourse? None. You see, while he's here in Florida, he's safe. Has anybody talked about this? Has one personality brought this up on YouTube or any other platform? If you've heard this, please share me the link. I would love to hear it. I've looked. I've not heard one person say this ever since Governor DeSantis announced that if Donald Trump stays here, he'll be safe. We will not participate in any extradition. Now, real quick, if you would like to learn the basics of psychological operations and how to think and not feel, you see, this is the real key here to advanced psychological operations. It's not just getting people to not think and feel. It's getting people to not think and feel, but do it in a way where they still believe that they're thinking. See, that's what we do over at the Patreon channel. We show people the tactics and techniques that subtly get people kicked over into their emotions. And they don't realize that's happened. And they still believe they're thinking. Nobody in the world, especially on the right, would say this. Every 4 years, it's the other group. It's if the Republicans are in charge, it's the left saying this. If the Democrats are in charge, it's the right. If you trust the government, you don't know history. If you trust especially the New York government. And here's the kicker. Some might say, well, he could be extradited. When you have a sitting governor of a state the size of Florida come out and literally within, I think it was an hour of the indictment dropping, say, under no circumstances will the state of Florida, meaning state police, local police, any police, will we participate in any extradition activities? We don't recognize the warrants as being valid. And for those of you that want pictures of girls in bikinis, here you go. I hate thinking, me too. Let's just trust our government. Okay, the federal government, New York, California. Here's a great quote. If society is honest and historically accurate, the only question that has any relevance to the gun control debate is, quote, do you trust those in government now and forever in the future to not take your life, liberty, or property through the force of government? If the answer to that question is no, the gun control debate is over. KrisAnne Hall. It's over. 1926, federal government poisoned alcohol in an effort to curb alcohol consumption during the Prohibition. As a result, by the time Prohibition ended in 1933, an estimated 10,000 people died from being poisoned by their own government. Why do you think Florida has formed its own military? Not the National Guard. We have our own state guard. Why do you think we're doing that? We don't trust Washington, D.C. anymore to protect Florida or Florida's interests. And we've already heard from Ashley Moody, chief law enforcement officer here in Florida. She will not participate in any warrants issued regarding this issue with Mr. Trump. Period. So you have the governor saying, we're not going to do it. She's not going to do it. No police officers are going to recognize the warrants anywhere. And I think this is absolutely a fantastic logo for our state guard. A lot of people have the misconception about Florida. You come down here, you're at risk of being eaten by an alligator, only if you want to. Yeah, you go out to some random body of water that you don't know anything about, usually in the evenings, and you go traipsing around in the muck right at the edge of the water, or you let your dog do that, guess what? It's real likely. But if you stay on sidewalks and away from places like that, you might, especially in South Florida, you might see one at a distance. Up here in North Florida, you got to go looking. And I'm going to take this one step further. I want to speak to everybody in my audience out there who has ever had any dealings with law enforcement. Ever been to prison? Ever been arrested for anything? Ever been detained? Ever been through the system, so to speak? I want to talk to you right now. How much do you trust judges when they say they're going to do this, that, or the other? How much do you trust the people in the system when they say, oh, don't worry, we're going to do this for you or that for you, you won't have to do this or this won't happen? How much do you believe them? And the reason I brought up this picture is to really make some people angry. I used it in another context, but I think it applies in this one. Ladies, going into a survival situation, going forward, maybe you should consider making a change. Maybe that guy, that handyman, the one that just got out of prison, maybe he's got a good, healthy, personal distrust of the government, and he's going to be much more likely to be able to protect you than somebody who's just sitting by, oh, Florida Maki, Trump's going to be fine. They would never do. Are you out of your mind? Ladies, seriously. If your guy's that naive, maybe you should consider making a switch to the handyman who's got a few things on his record. Because he's got his mind right about what's coming and who can be trusted and who can't be trusted. And I know that's a bit of a seamy way of saying it, but that's just the way it is. Campaign shares plans on how Trump will turn himself in. After yammering on and on and on about not trusting the government, don't trust Biden, don't trust this, don't trust that, he's literally going to willingly fly his jet to New York and then just trust that they aren't going to do anything that they haven't said they're going to do. How moronic. I mean, this dumb, and I'll go right back to the very first, huge bad idea. Would you do it? Would you counsel somebody to do it? Why is Trump any different? I know there's people out there, oh, Florida Maki, you're making too big a deal. Would you do it? If you knew all you had to do was stay in Florida, if you knew all you had to do was stay right here in Florida and you would be safe and no law enforcement agent would participate in a warrant from another state, would you leave Florida? And would you go to that state based on some phone call pinky swear from these guys? From these guys. Really? Because that's what's going on right now. And make no mistake, the judge can do whatever he wants to do. See, they can already have it all arranged. And the judge can say, Bob, yeah, no, I don't think it's a good idea that we ROR Trump. ROR, by the way, release on recognizance. And there'd be nothing Bragg could do about it. He's just going before a judge. They could have already paid the judge off. Could have already bought him off. But here's the bigger story is this. This is the bigger story. Why is nobody screaming about this other than right here? If your argument is, oh, trust the government, oh, please, give me a break. If that's your argument, what's the recourse? Well, they better not, or blah, 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 this will happen, or blah, blah, blah. Well, you see, funny story, we just had 2020 happen. And in 2018 or 19, if you had said, hey, they're going to shut gyms, hey, they're going to shut churches, hey, they're going to do all these, well, American people's not going to stand for that, we're going to rise up. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Nobody did. Florida kind of did. Florida, South Dakota, a few other states pushed back a little bit. But the vast majority, and like I said, once he's in custody in New York, nobody's going to be able to do anything, especially from Florida. What in the world? Why is nobody shouting this from the rooftops? Why is nobody screaming about this? And if your argument is, well, if they do that, Mickey, we're going to really, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to do anything. If they try to provoke another J6 type event, you're not going to participate in that. Oh, we're not going to fall for the bait. Great. Wonderful. So if you don't fall for the bait and you don't do that, then guess what? The guy's going to sit and rot in a jail cell. That he hasn't done this math. That he hasn't done this math in his head. Or nobody around him has done this math. And said, look, let's weigh out our options here. Let's weigh out our options. Do the arraignment over video conference, over Skype, from Mar-a-Lago. He already has Secret Service agents around him. And they say, okay, then we're going to restrict his movements to Mar-a-Lago. Okay, that's technically not extradition. Okay, fine. So he stays at Mar-a-Lago. And he keeps his freedom-ish, I guess. To some extent. But getting on your jet and flying to New York and putting yourself in the hands of those people? No way. No way. I don't know what he's thinking. Or maybe I'm right. Maybe he's not. Just like nobody else is. Because nobody's protesting this. Once again, I'll leave it there. I'll leave this to the comment section. Biden's not going to have anybody's backs. There's not going to be no federal government come riding to the rescue. And once, as much as Governor DeSantis would love to not see him behind bars, there's not much once he's up in New York, Florida could do about it. So, anyway, join us, please, over Patreon. $1 per month would really help me out a lot. I'd sure appreciate it. Gloves off. Funny story, Marjorie Taylor Greene just put a post up where she used this exact term, gloves off. And so I kind of wonder maybe if there's people behind the scenes that watch my videos that aren't announcing themselves. But yeah, gloves off completely. Very, 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 very little censorship. We do have to have some level of decorum, but not like here. And once again, the evidence is the amount of people that will be down in the comment section saying, yeah, Florida Maquis shows way too much of this or way too much of that or way too much of the other. So I can't handle it. That's why I canceled my subscription. So that's fine. That's fine. Not everybody can handle the truth in stark terms. Not everybody is going to be ready to do what needs to be done, to be very honest with you, when shit hits the fan. A lot of people think it's like, well, either I'm going to affect survival with my ballistic weapon, but I'm not going to do anything immoral, is ridiculous. Think about that for 1 second. It'd be okay. Yeah, I'm going to take my ballistic weapon out and I'll be okay with blasting people's heads off. But when it comes to the ladies doing things that are gray area immoral to survive, oh, no. I'll blast somebody's head off, but I won't dance around in a bikini. It's ridiculous. So anyway, I'll leave it there. God bless. Have a great weekend. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.